is Harry and Meghan do not have something of a sense of humour, despite trying to show that off when they appeared at the Ripple of Hope Awards. Do you remember? With that lovely sort of throwaway remark that this was a date night, and she was thrilled that Prince Harry decided to invite her. Would he dare leave the house without her? Really? It's like a security blanket, isn't he? He wouldn't dare to walk to the door without permission. Now listen, I know how this works, trust me. But the bottom line is this with Harry and Meghan. By not being able to laugh at themselves, obviously they've made things incredibly difficult. And I say that with kindness. The bottom line is when you're lampooned and spoofed or whatever you want to call it by certain shows, whether it's an impression or anything, it's normally something of an accolade, knowing, of course, that you're that famous enough, people will know exactly who you are. When you think about the hit show Spitting Image, it used to be something of an accolade to be made into a latex dummy via the show because people obviously knew instantly who you were. It's not really happening in the 21st century so much because people move on very quickly, don't they? But as we saw with the South Park episode of the Worldwide Privacy Tour, whether you liked it or not, and certain elements of it, I would say, were a little bit cruel, a little bit near the mark, there were certain elements that apparently really offended the ex-royals. Now, I'll leave you to decide just how cruel this could be, but obviously the writers are very astute at picking away the things that the public knew would resonate and, of course, instantly hit with them. But apparently over in Montecito, Harry and Meghan were still mulling over the idea of what they can do for some kind of retribution regarding that. Well, the bottom line is, these were the two elements that really offended them. Can you guess which ones? Hi, good morning, Neil Sean here. Nice to see you. Hope you're all well as ever, and thank you so much for joining me today. Not bad weather in London right now. Apparently it's quite warm. Oh gosh, that'll be climate change, won't it? But apparently there's going to be another wind coming down from somewhere, the east from the beast too. Don't they love to tell you these stuff, the weathermen? They're almost delightful, aren't they, when they say it's going to be cold in a few days. You think, right, okay. Lovely. Could it be as cold as the wind blowing through the Montecito mansion, though? You like that link, don't you? Yes. Because, of course, as we now know, the South Park episode has had sort of reverberations, not necessarily around the world, but certainly for people connecting back with Harry and Meghan. But it's these two particular stills, these two particular episodes that have offended Miss Markle and the former role known as Prince Harry. You know the one where he's at the window, yes, peering in? Well, that's a spoof of him, of course, where he was juggling the limes or whatever it was outside the window as Meghan celebrated one of her milestone birthdays. You remember that? And then, of course, what's really offended Meghan Markle, and as ever, we have to say allegedly, is the scene where Prince Harry decides to look inside the empty vessel that is Miss Markle, and there's an echo coming back out. As I said, certain people could say it's rather cruel. That is comedy, and you can't really be offended by it. Yeah, that's obviously how people see them, or that is the perception that the writers see them. Now, moving forward, as one could say, this is going to be really tricky for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to do anything about. As I've said before, the best thing to do is laugh at it, and hopefully it will go away. Over here, in the UK, we had a problem with a singer, Craig David, very successful at the time, and a certain individual, comedian, lampooned him every single week. He said it was detrimental to his career and got rather upset. My thoughts were, if you don't mention it, people will have moved on. And if you laugh at it, then people actually go along with it and it soon dies down. This would be the advice best given to Harry and Meghan, but as ever, being the victims that they are, allegedly, then of course they want to know exactly what can be done. Nothing can stop this lampooning now, particularly with South Park. And as we told you before, they may be looking into other options too. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.